Yeah, sure thing. Hey, Gemma, I hope you're doing well. It was announced just before with the changes to the border that I guess when the season's finished, you guys won't have to do MIQ on the way home. Um, Although at this stage it's still looking pretty unlikely you'll get some games back in New Zealand. Is that reassuring to know that you don't have to kind of worry about that?
Yeah, it's a massive lift and stress off people's shoulders. And I think as much as we've been kind of staying optimistic with the players, I definitely know it's been in the back of their minds, and there's been some worry, have we heard any updates? What's happening? Are we going to get home? Do we need MIQ? So there's definitely been things they've been worried about. So I think everyone was talking about it this morning at training, so I think everyone's kind of whew, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we know that we're going to be safe and be able to get back home. And I think for the age range of players that we're working with, that's just so important. And I think it's really kind of definitely taken something off their shoulders that they don't have to worry about now. So we're super happy with it.
Yeah, because what was the process in terms of trying to get home? Otherwise, had the club kind of been looking at trying to get MIQ spots? Had they been hard to come by? Is it something you just worry about a little bit later on?
Yeah, no, the club was pretty proactive in terms of talking to Sport New Zealand and the government and things like that. So anytime we ever spoke to the club, they were kind of we're just being told to wait and things are coming. So it was, so we always that's why we're trying to stay optimistic, because everyone was like, look, there's been pressure on the government and things are looking like they're going to change, and we're being steered in the direction to hold your horses. You don't need to worry about anything for now, and wait until the announcement. So that's kind of been the way that we were led. So it's nice to see that come to fruition. And whereas I was a little bit pessimistic of being okay, we're going to wait and see, and then get to a point where it doesn't happen, and then we're stuck. But yeah, everything that the club was dealing with, we're being constantly told that this was going to happen. So yeah, it's good that it's come to light now.
Yeah, how disappointing is it the fact that you probably will have to go the whole season playing in Australia? Only a few games to go now, but were you looking forward to at least getting one or two back here?
Yeah, it is disappointing. I think, to be honest, for us, we always prepared to have, I think different for the men, but for our team, we always prepared to be here for the whole time. And it was almost like, if we get a home game back there, the last one, that'll be amazing. But something that was going to be a little bit of a cherry on top, rather than something we were ever going to properly expect. So yeah, the girls knew that. They knew it was going to be more of a really nice to have if it happened, but probably not likely. So yeah, I think it's more looking towards the next season that's important for us.
Yeah, because looking at the rules, I mean, there's potential that the next season could be, in Wellington. Would you like to see the club and the league kind of make every effort to have the A-League women's team based in Wellington, as opposed to trying to do it as cheap as possible by being in Australia?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the way to go. I think it brings a different experience for the other A-League teams as well. I get that it comes with financial kind of things that are attached to it, but I think that's the way. When you're trying to make this league more professionalized, I think having us play proper home and away is important. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But we're definitely pushing and kind of hoping to be next year playing properly home and away, based in Wellington.
Yeah, and how's everyone held up from the game the other day? Is everyone available for selection for Victory?
Tough one, to be honest. It's a short turnaround, so it's been hard. We haven't quite decided on Mac yet. Just based on the short turnaround, and she did so well against Perth, so of course we want her, but it's that the short turnaround doesn't really allow her a lot of time to settle, and it almost puts it at a little bit of a higher risk. So we just, part of us is still trying to work through and speak to and get medical advice on what would be the best solution for that. And it may be that, and we haven't made the decision, but potentially for this game she misses out, to make sure that she's fully back for the next games and onwards, because our turnarounds, touch wood, are then a lot more reasonable. So we don't want to necessarily put her at unnecessary risk, knowing that we could lose her for a longer period of time. So she's one that's a 50-50 at the moment. Haven't quite made a decision on it, and it's one of those ones where because she could play, and she probably could be fine, but we also don't want to kind of flick a coin for her health and her injuries to gamble on that one. So yeah, we'll make a decision on that relatively soon. The other one that is different for us is Grace Wisniewski won't be available for selection, not through injury. So she's not injured. But she is somebody that we've worked with for a long time now, but for the last kind of year and a half has been working through mental health, and as kind of she's kind of told me that she's happy for me to be honest with you guys about that, which I think is huge for her, and we've supported her and think she's an incredible player, an incredible person. But yeah, obviously this has been big for her, and even before coming here, she was working through mental health and kind of deals with some anxiety, and that's kind of, we support her in that space, and we've supported her through this whole program, both at home and now here. But with the short turnaround, she doesn't quite get a good recovery space and settles in enough time to kind of be ready to go again, and doesn't want to put the team in kind of unnecessary harm by her potentially not playing as well as she would like to. So yeah, we're super supportive of that, and kind of, you know, she speaks to somebody, and we work through that with her through this whole program. But I think, yeah, it's important that she feels confident enough for us to be honest about it in this space, and I think that's amazing for her to kind of show that, because I think we're seeing more and more in professional sport that you know, mental health it exists, and it's a struggle, and but also seeing that people can still be professional athletes, you can still kind of be successful and be supported through it, and kind of be at the top of your game where you need to be. So yeah, I think it's big for her, but for this game, it's just not the right time for her to be playing. So we're super supportive of her sitting this one out, and supporting her teammates, and kind of working through from more of an off the field perspective rather than on the field perspective.
Yeah, so was that a case of, yeah, she kind of asked if she could just sit this one out?
Yeah, we talked through it because we had a similar scenario for she wasn't sure on the Sydney game, like the turnaround was really tight for her that game, and on reflection for her from that game, you know, she didn't feel comfortable, and she did find everything a lot more heightened for her in that experience, and it was really tough for her. So she's just on reflection and how she's currently feeling, just thinks it's too short of a turnaround for her to really be at her best for the team. So she feels like the best thing to do for the team is to kind of sit this one out. So she kind of brought it to us, and we talked about it, but we also as a staff already had that in the back of our heads, that we knew this tight turnaround is a little bit tough for her at the moment. So I think we were kind of already wading down that route, but at the same time, I think it's really important for her to make that decision herself. And yeah, we massively support that, and we also think it's probably the right decision for the team in this moment in time, as much as she's a big loss for us, because yeah, she's played 90 minutes of all our games and is a massive workhorse for us. Yeah, we also respect kind of where she's at, and how much she's already kind of been pushing through and been doing really well, and this is part of it. It's her first experience of professional football, whilst also working through and dealing with mental health, and so far it's been a good experience for her, but it's learnings of how to balance things, learnings of when she might push things too far, or when she needs to settle a little bit more. So it's been really good for her, and we're super supportive of it, and also super proud that she feels confident enough in her environment to let us share that with you as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess Isabel Gomez probably comes back in, and I guess we saw Hannah Jones had a great game, might have done enough to, you know, retain her spot then.
Yeah, and to be honest, like that was already, even if Wiz didn't take us out of the running for this game, that was already going to be a bit of a headache for us anyway, because Hannah did really well. Izzy coming back in, and we've seen Izzy do well. We know what Wiz brings, so there was already going to be a bit of a selection headache for us anyway. So yeah, Wiz has probably made that decision for us a little bit more.
Yeah, and how tough has it been to lift the players after another pretty heartbreaking defeat, with such a quick turnaround as well?
Yeah, tough. I think like that one hurt, but at the same time, when we went back through the review and things like that, I think and the girls kind of watched things back and watched their footage back, and we had a few meetings, and you could see that they, as much as that one stung, probably a lot of them do, but that one probably more so than any of the 2 late goals. We've worked through the mentality around like how we stop conceding those late goals, and kind of some accountability, and kind of looked at ourselves and properly being like, okay, like what excuses do we have to be conceding goals like that at this professional level? That stuff isn't going to be acceptable. We're really lucky that currently people understand the circumstance we're in, and in our first season, but at the same time, we need to hold ourselves accountable in those moments. So I'm hoping to see a better bounce back from that moving forwards, that we're holding ourselves accountable to those, and now not accepting that as, oh, we were so close and that was great to be that close. Well, it was our own undoing that stopped us from getting those points, not necessarily Perth. So yeah, that's been big for us. But at the same time, I think the bounce back's been pretty good. If I'm being quite honest, like a short turnaround always brings a little bit more like worry in terms of, because of how we like to play, because of the type of team we are, and physically where we're at in the season. Some players are carrying like some fatigue, and we didn't have a proper preseason, like, so this whole season's been getting to a point where now we are trying to keep the momentum going. We're trying to keep the level of how we want to play going, but at the same time, we also haven't had the right amount of a preseason to get us to the level where we need to be to compete all the way through and to be at that level physically. So there are some players also carrying like some fatigue, and so I think this it's not even, sometimes it's not really necessarily about the bounce back. It's almost like that thought of going into this game and being like, oh, like, are we going to be tired, and are they going to be super fresh? They haven't played for 2 weeks or however long, and we're coming off the back of a game where we had to give everything. So yeah, I think the bounce back from the game hasn't been so bad. It's more been trying to calm the nerves and the feelings of that we might not be ready to compete by tomorrow, and getting that belief in them that we can use the depth in our squad. We like, if Hannah showed us anything, look at what she came on and did. Like, we can use players can step up that are fresh and maybe haven't had those minutes or that fatigue in them, and they're rearing to go, they're ready, and we can still kind of compete at that level.
Yeah, and I heard Nat on the radio yesterday, and there were 2 main takeaways. First of all, that she's a big Aston Villa fan. But secondly, she had mentioned that the coaching staff had kind of spoken to the players about expectations for the remaining games and kind of what they want to get out of it. Are you able to kind of share, what the team's kind of goals are for the remaining games now?
Yeah, to be honest, at the moment, they're still kind of finalizing where they want to land. Like, we'll probably have, and obviously I get that we've got this game, and they've kind of put what they want out of this game, but they kind of, what we've got is them almost coming up with, because everything's been focused around this, we want this one win. One win, but like, we look at the next 5 games and feel like there's more up for grabs than just one win in there, based on our current performances, based on the oppositions that we've come up against, and we're not necessarily like happy with settling on like just the one win. And I also think that's like trying to change the mentality of how the girls see themselves and their performance and their expectations, is not to just be like happy with just getting that first win, and that's all that counts. And I realize that us saying that when we haven't won a game yet might seem quite backwards, but I think our mentality of where we're at now in the season, how confident we feel in the team, is that we're almost like saying to them, what do you want? Like, put a number on it. How many points do you want to get out of the next 5 games? And like, we're going to chase after that. And if you know, I mean, it's something we all need to agree on. It's something that we all want to be realistic. So we're not going to turn around and say we're going to aim for 3 points from every single game, like, because we don't feel like that's setting ourselves a realistic expectation. But I imagine, and we haven't settled on a number yet, but it won't be 3. Like, so, you know, we want to set ourselves bigger targets than that. That's kind of the space we're going down. There's still performance-based targets within that aren't based around outcome, but we're also challenging ourselves now to see if we can bring the two together. Our kind of in-game performances and the wins within the game and the stats that we look at, and now challenge ourselves to be like, okay, and we want to be accountable and challenge ourselves to see if we can get more points than being happy to just compete, so to speak.
Cool. Well, that's everything I had. So yeah, thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Gemma. Just quickly, one from me. I assume Kelly still unavailable?
Yes, Kelly and Kushler both unavailable. Yeah. The bench, the squad almost selects itself from a point of view of no Wiz, no Kelly, no Kushler, and potentially no Mac. But we haven't decided on that one. Everyone
so
else.
What's Kushler's injury?
It was an ankle injury, similar to what Kelly sustained from like a ligament partial tear. But she's been on feet, she's been running, she's been ticking off some of her return to play pretty quickly, but she hasn't been back in an actual training session yet.
Okay, cool.
All good.
Thanks a lot, Gemma. Much appreciated.
Speak to you soon.